I was playing with a bracket earlier today, and I thought, I think I could use a bracket to decorate something. So since Easter is next week, I thought, well, I'll just see if I can decorate a cross. So this is a basic thing. I usually like to use the block arc from the basic shapes to decorate my edges because I like a lacy look, but I thought I'd just see what I can do with a bracket. So those of you who are new to make the cut can learn how to do some very simple things, and hopefully Susan will be back soon. So to do this card, what I did was start with a basic shape, which is a square. I type in SQ in the find box of the basic shapes and double click on the square. I like to keep it right at 1 inch. I've got this set so that when I add a shape, any shape to my mat, it comes in at 1 inch. So I'm starting with 1 inch, and I want to make this, and I'm leaving it at 1 inch because when I wrap an object around it, I want an even number of inches so that the bracket at 1 inch will wrap around smoothly. So I'm going to use the green lock icon at the top of the screen and leave this at 1 inch width, and I'll change the height to 7 inches and press enter. Then I'm going to hold Control and Shift and just drag a copy off of there, and down at the bottom we have rotate 90 degrees. I think I'll turn this on the green mat too, easier to see that way. Now I'm just going to select both and type S to stack them, and click the crossbar, and I'm going to resize that to, let's see, 5 inches wide. Again, I want to keep them, stack them again, and then I'm going to select that one and use my up arrow with the Control key to move it up fast, and keep it right on the grid lines here so that I know that when I wrap this object around it, it's going to be even. You'll see why. So now I'm going to just select it all and click on the weld icon, which is at the bottom center of the screen. And now I have a cross. I'm going to make a copy of that. Control, Shift, and drag does that. Now I'm going to use a font, Bell MT, because I like the little bracket character or brace or whatever you call it. I'm going to double click that to add. Now it's a little too skinny, so I'm going to click on the shadow layer icon, which is fourth from the right on the bottom, and shadow that to make it a little thicker. Then let's see, 0.02 is what I usually use to thicken fonts. I think that's okay, so I'll accept that. I think I want it rounded though. Yeah, it makes it a little smoother. And accept. So I can get rid of the skinny one, and I'll use the little fatter one. I need to rotate it 90 degrees, so I'm going to use this fourth icon from the left, rotate 90 degrees, to make it horizontal. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see this process. I'm going to hold the Control key first and hold it down. Now I'm going to drag this shape over the other shape until my cursor changes to the square, circle, and triangle. Then release the mouse and the Control key. Now it remembers the count of what I did last time. Well, boy, those are kind of sloppy. So I'll reduce the spacing a little bit. It might even be good to start with 0. And as I increase the number, you see that they are added here. I'm going to change the vertical alignment a little bit to start with. Now I'm going to add some more. Now when they get up here, they should all fit nicely. If they don't, that's where I might want to decrease the spacing. So you can kind of use the spacing to get it just the way you want it. So I come to the corners, I'm adjusting the spacing a little bit. And I think I'm going to need these to be overlapping a little bit more, because when I weld them, I want them overlapping so they'll weld. And this vertical alignment changes that adjustment. So you can see, you could, if you're careful with the alignment and with the spacing, you can get these pretty much to go where you want them to go, overlapping without a lot of extra work when you're done. Now we can click on this little red lightning bolt here and click on duplicate path. That means I'm just going to save the original. I don't want to lose it. And then I'll click on accept. Now it asks me, do I want to weld? Well, if I don't need to make any adjustments, I can just click yes, and it'll weld all these outside pieces, and I told it to save one for me here. And if I like how that looks, then I have, right now, I have kind of a very interesting shape. I could make a copy of that, Control, Shift, and drag, in case I want to use that for some other project, maybe for the inside to write a message. I can stack these again by selecting both and typing S. Then I got to thinking, that might be pretty with to be just a frame. To make a frame, I'm going to click on that cross, click on the shadow, and I'll make this an inset shadow, meaning I want it to go to the inside. To make it an inset shadow, I have to click minus, and I probably would like it to be about 0.15 and not rounded, because it kind of gives me a rounded look in there and I'd rather have it square. So I'll click on accept there, and now I have the inside cross and then the original cross. I'm going to select them both holding the shift key and click on join, and that gives me kind of a frame. I think I'll save that frame just by holding Control, Shift, and dragging away in case I want to use it for another project, or in case I don't like the look of this. And now if I select all of these and click weld, then I have a nice frame. And I also have these other pieces that I could take to another page in case I want to rework it another way. Another thing I like to do is maybe use this piece. I'm going to do Control, Shift, drag, and put it over here and change its color. So I can go to the contrast map so we can see these. Right now it's all black, but if I change the color of the layer, maybe I could make this gold, and I can make this, I'll send it to its own layer on top and make it maybe lavender. Then I have some potential there, to have contrast in color. I can layer it. I could use a frame just on the inside and put text on it. And then if I want to make a card out of it, maybe this would go with a card. I can create a card, add a new layer with the large plus icon in the lower right corner, and then whatever I add goes on its own layer. Double click on the square, and it goes way over here because that's where my carrot was. Now for a card, if I'm making an A2 size card, I'll change this height, put on the lock icon and change the height to 5.5 and the width to 4 point, no, I don't want to change that width. I want the lock on. We'll try that again. Select all and just type 5.5, enter. So now I have a 5.5 inch tall. I probably don't want it as tall as the card. Maybe I'll make it 5.25. That's better, because my card's going to be 5.5 inches. So to make the card here, I'll put it on green again. I'll unlock the lock icon and we'll make this 8.5, 8.5, and 5.5, enter. So now I have a card. If I put it right on the middle, I can draw a line. I'll add a new layer for the line. I put the lines, the score lines, on a different layer than where the card is so that I can make a dash line. I'm going to left click at the top, right click at the bottom, and click on the color box to change the line style to dashed. You can leave it solid to engrave or score if you prefer. So there's a card there, and then here is the thing to go on the front. You could use one of these to put on the inside, resize it of course, and use your pen tool to write a message in there if you like. So we can make the card whatever color we like. Change it to contrast so we can see the colors. Notice that the card is hiding the cross. When it does that, come over to the Layers palette, right click on the layer and move layer to bottom. Maybe I want to make it green. Okay. If I wanted to, I could use that extra little piece here to make a lacy edge around the card. And again, it looks like it's overlapping nicely. Here at the corners, I might have to do something creative, and I need to add some more on the other edge there. And that looks interesting. Now, these measure 1 inch, and I have a 1/2 inch left. So I'll just click accept, and I don't want to weld it because I need to do something with these. Well, maybe I could rotate this. If I hold down the control key while I rotate, I can get it exactly 45 degrees with 3 clicks. I could do something like that. I'm not sure I like that. So the other thing that I could do is maybe take all of these on this side and hold the control key and drag so it overlaps everything just a little till I get it where I want it to be. This changes the spacing. It doesn't change the sizes. This changes the spacing. Now these I could maybe space out a little bit more, still holding the control key. I don't want to change the spacing too much, so I'm going to let go of the control key now and I'll stretch them just a little bit. So it's a combination of stretch and spacing. Same thing here, I'll hold the control key to stretch them out, space them out a little bit, let go of the control key to drag them out. Now if I send this design, this card design to the top by right-clicking, move layer to top, and I weld just this to the other pieces. I can select these pieces on the right by clicking on the thumbnail, hold the Shift key, and click on the rectangle. So I've both selected, and now I can weld. Center icon on the bottom. It'll take the color of the piece that's on top. Now I can send it back to the bottom. And I have kind of a ornate card. It's no longer A2 though, because it's a little taller here than the A2 was. So if I select the card and the line, I can resize them again. With the lock on, I want it to be 5.5. 5.5, enter. And then I can just move it back to where it was and make sure that of course this is going to be pieced. It looks like the cross is going to have to be a little bit smaller to fit on this. So I select it holding the Shift key, and you can resize it to fit. So that's all there is to it. Any questions about that?
There was a question from Sharon about if you wanted to have the brackets on the inside of the cross instead of the outside, how would you do that? Or what would you do?
I think I showed this not long ago, but what I would do is, did I save one of those? Oh, I did. I'm going to undo this, put it back where it was. Let me take this cross. I'm going to Control-C copy, and I'm going to open a new page just so everything else is out of the way, and use Control-Shift-V to paste it. And I'll get that bracket again. Did I save it? Well, I didn't save it. So I always like to save my pieces for things like this. I'll just make another one, double click on the bracket and make it a little bit larger, 0.02. And I don't want it mitered, I want it rounded, and accept. So I'll get rid of the original, and I have this one. I'll Control Shift and drag just to keep a copy and rotate it. When we have a shape that has an inside and an outside, we can, when we wrap something to it, it'll wrap around the outside first, and then it'll start wrapping to the inside. So let's see what happens. Control, click and drag till we get the shapes. I'm going to get back to 1 here. Change my vertical alignment a little bit, but what I want is, instead of repeat yet, I want to move the offset until maybe it would go to the inside. So let me check the vertical alignment this way. Oh, there it is. I put the vertical alignment way inside. You might have to do it one side at a time. And the offset, there's a good starting place. I want the vertical line a little bit closer to the edge, but I can move that later if I need to. So now I'll increase the wrap here. See what happens. It's really giving me a lot of stuff I don't need. I think what I'll do though is just do one side at a time and change the offset so it starts a little different here.
And also remember that you made those brackets the size for the outside of the cross, not the inside. So
right. Yes.
Your sizing is a little bit different as well.
Hey, Susan, you're back.
Yeah. Why don't you start with just a single cross with no other cross in the center, and then turn your bracket upside down and have it going inwards.
Turn it upside down. Well, you know what? I'll let you show us that in a second, because I'm not sure what you mean. But I'll just do this one little side, and then I'm going to use my arrow key to fine adjust. What I might do is just do one side and accept. And then all of it's selected, and I'm going to move it right over here, overlapping this side, and then I'm going to control click and drag and mirror to get the other side. Oh, where there's a will, there's a way, right? So I'll let you show the fancy way that you do it, so I'm sure it's awesome. And then do the same for the top, control, shift, and drag. Then I have an extra one, I can just delete that. And since these over here are the same, control, shift, and drag, they're the same size as the top, I should be able to get a pretty good one there. Control, shift, drag, and put it over here. So now if that's the way I want it, then I'll make a copy in case I don't want it that way. Then I can just weld.